Carolina, House Speaker Tom Tillis says if Republican Pat McCrory is elected governor, a voter ID bill would pass.
And that's what Tillis told the state delegation at the RNC last night. News 13's Ingrid Alstead joins us. And Ingrid, what would this bill change?
Well, it would mean voters would have to show a photo ID at the polls, an extra step that some worry would cause division. 30% of the elderly in Buncombe County do not have a vehicle, according to Wendy Marsh at the Council on Aging in Asheville.
They're not going to probably have a current driver's license with their photo ID.
And not having a license may prove a problem at the polls.
That voice that they've been able to use, that they've earned, that's a right they have, doesn't get lost.
Opponents of a voter ID law argue that requiring a photo ID would discourage voting among older adults. But supporters say it would discourage voter fraud, protecting the integrity of the voting system.
Even when the honest side wins, when people realize that there's a lot of voter fraud, then that cuts down the confidence that we need really in the American system.
Mike Scruggs, chairman of the Henderson County Republican Party, says voters could show one of 8 forms of ID, and it would be easy for them to get it.
Just to avoid theoretically disenfranchising a few people, you don't want to damage the whole system.
The North Carolina Board of Elections says voter fraud is less than 1%, but supporters say it's easy to do. Earlier this year, News 13 proved how easy it could be to vote as someone else. We sent a 20-something white male poser in to vote as a deceased African-American woman.
So wait, I don't need to show you my ID?
We don't need it. We're not allowed to look at it.
They can show the ID, but it is not required.
It's unknown how local election offices would be affected by a potential ID law.
And we don't know who will burden the costs, whether they will be costs burdened by the state or by the local counties.
But until that time, and for this fall's election, you don't need an ID at the polls. And the General Assembly passed the bill last year, but it was later vetoed by Governor Bev Perdue. College students and the poor are also groups in which opponents argue may not have the means to obtain a photo ID. And if the bill were to pass, the Council on Aging says they'll find ways to help the elderly obtain that photo ID, but say it would likely take away funds from other services.